All right, welcome back in game live college football game day here on the grid. Hour number 4 of our 4-hour extravaganza. Scott Wetzel, Joe Madden for another hour, updating all the college football scores while we were away. Notre Dame and USC back and forth they go, just like that. Notre Dame answers USC's touchdown with another touchdown of their own. So Irish now lead at 28-21. Joe. They got the 6.5 minutes left to go in the third quarter. Listen, Irish defense has been pretty good this year, so I'm a little surprised that USC's been able to move the ball as much as they have. I know you got props on Notre Dame's, quarterback and Riley Leonard. They're laying 6.5. Over under now is 70.5. Wow, you're at 48. You got 6.5 minutes left to go in the third. 71 points is a lot of points, but I'm not seeing anything out of these two defenses that make me think in about 5 minutes, we're going to be telling you USC scored a touchdown to tie it to 28. So, you're at 49. That's 56, 63, 71, 3 more touchdowns. Yeah, give me the over 70.5. Why not?
Yeah, I think you can get there for sure. I take the over 70.5 live right now. Actually, I'm going to jump in on it, Scott, because I do think these teams are going to go back and forth. USC has shown that they can score here on the defense of Notre Dame that normally comes out so much stronger. Like you said, I would have expected them to really limit USC in this one, but USC seems to be answering back each and every time. Riley Leonard has got that rushing touchdown on the board, so I'm happy to see that. We've seen 3 touchdowns come via the run, and we've seen 1 through the air. Riley Leonard was able to connect with Jeremiah Love actually got the rushing touchdown there. He connected with Radadon for that receiving touchdown. So I still need Riley Leonard over his passing prop. That was close to 200. It was just under. He's got 127 right now, Scott. He's gone 15 of 18. Short passes. We need a big, deep pass in this game.
Yeah, you need, as I said earlier, you need some little small pass that turns into like a 45-yard screen just to give him that little impetus to, because he doesn't like throw the ball, 30 yards down the field. But you would think somewhere along the line, need to be able to get that. So, especially against the USC defense. North Carolina coaches fired system looking okay. Tar Heels score late third. Take a 20-13 lead over NC State. However, NC State only getting 3.5. Which is interesting. Since North Carolina was a 3.5 point favorite to start the game, they're up 7. And, we've been doing this a long time. That number really should be closer to 7, maybe 5.5, 6, not the 3.5 they're giving you right now. So clearly they have no. Oh, again, you got to look at the time and distance here, Scott. So NC State's got the ball to North Carolina 29. So right away they're driving right after that North Carolina touchdown. So, Cal kicked the field goal. So there goes the shutout bet. Right, 21-3. That's what I mean. You just don't get shutouts in college football. You just, in the NFL either. I bet you could count on one hand, how many times there's been a shutout in the NFL. It's so rare. I don't know why they don't. The idea is to hook the bettor, right? So give them odds that are attractive enough for they're going to make that bet, and then have him lose. So unless people are betting it at +3, +350, but the number of games, 100, and the number of times you get a shutout, maybe 1, does not equal +350. It just doesn't. So, but.
Well, might come today. Kennesaw State still yet to get on the board versus Louisiana Tech. 17-0 game right now. Kennesaw State +20.5. This third quarter is... Well, we've got 8 minutes and 46 seconds left in the third. I took the third quarter over 7.5 points. Kennesaw State's on their own 46-yard line, Scott. This is not looking pretty.
Yeah. I'm surprised, not that Louisiana Tech is great, but still, knowing that both teams playing for nothing, you think no caution to the wind, just do all kind of goofy things, even create turnovers, but it's not been the case. So they just punted. I see that a lot of Tech's got the ball at their own 17 or 19-yard line. So maybe you get a little turnover here, get something goofy to happen, get a cheap touchdown, on a defensive, turnover. And maybe that would spark
Kennesaw State, you're asking for a lot right now, Scott. You're really asking for a lot. Come on, we need the turnover, defensive touchdown. Let's go. So
I think their win total too. was their win total was, I think, 2.5. So this is they got 2 wins, so that they need to lose this game. Just kicking off, Joe. TCU and Cincinnati. The Bearcats at 5-6. Another one of those teams that's playing for something. TCU not really playing for anything. Decent enough team, 7-4, but they can't win the Big 12. It's basically a meaningless game. So you would think Cincinnati would be the play, at least from a motivational side. But what do you like in this game?
I just look at Cincinnati, and I'm not sure if I can get behind them. Bama just not ordered another touchdown, added another touchdown, and guess who it was? Jalen Milroe, another touchdown, 17-yard rush for him. What's that? 3 on the day, Scott? Man, I wish I had his rushing touchdowns laddered up today. But TCU, I think I got to lay the points with TCU. I can't trust Cincinnati. They've lost the last 4 straight. This team, while they have something to fight for, I don't know if they can beat a TCU team that has nothing to play for. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to lean towards Cincinnati just because of that angle. But I will tell you, so far, it's not really worked out. Wisconsin yesterday losing. You got Cincinnati. Auburn losing. Looked like they're going to lose. NC State losing. Eastern Michigan. I have to check the max scores. I know that's not one we paid too much attention to. Eastern Michigan. We got Central Michigan. I don't see that one. But did they play earlier today? No. Oh yeah, Eastern Michigan loss. So, although Western Michigan was 5-6, so they needed the win anyway. So that wipes each other out. But it hasn't really worked out too well today, surprisingly enough. So because of that, maybe TCU is the play. But I'll side with Cincinnati, but nothing crazy. It's just one disappointing team. Well, let's put it that way. And Cincinnati's been overrated. Every week I look at their lines and they got a lot of respect for the boys in Vegas, but it just hasn't panned out for them between them and Central Florida, like we talked about. So Cincinnati's getting 4 at home. I'll take a flyer. Although TCU's got it at the Cincinnati 14-yard line, so that's another reason why it's up there a little bit. ODU leading Arkansas State 40-32. We haven't touched on that one too much. 5 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter of that one. That's a crazy one. Western Kentucky, Jacksonville State. That's actually a big Sun Belt game, tied at 10, early third quarter there. Our UTEP Miners trailing New Mexico State 24-14. A little bit more scoring in that game than I anticipated, although it slowed down a little bit midway through the second quarter, but still, we were sitting on the under on that one. And then BC's got the ball to Pittsburgh 24, 4th down, no, leading 27-17. So nothing crazy. Alabama lines up to 24.5 with that touchdown. 28-6. They just posted it. Wow.
That's a huge spread now.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I jumped on Bama at 12.5 at the half. I don't think Auburn can get a touchdown in this game, Scott. We saw them in that situation where they should have been able to convert with that gift on that last drive before the half, and I just don't trust them. So I would still jump in on Bama, laying all of those points. I think they steamroll over the rest of this game.
Yeah, I think so too. I told you that stat, that 21-1 double-digit favorites in this rivalry. Very surprising, and most of those I imagine are covers. So we need another touchdown out of Penn State. Late third, leading 31-7 at the Maryland 41-yard line, laying 24.5.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of a week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was Lincoln! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season.
All right, welcome back in Game Live. College football game day here on the grid. Scott and Joe for another 45 minutes or so. Back to our original little $1 round robin overtime parlay. So we got two games going on now, and then we got the three, or is it two? Well, let me see. Rutgers, Michigan State, Arkansas, Missouri. What was the other one that we had? Three going on right now. The other one was, survey says, Notre Dame, USC. So we're looking okay here, Joe. Arkansas, Missouri. Missouri just scored to take a 3-point lead early fourth quarter. That's, pretty good. We got a 7-point game. Notre Dame leading the USC fourth quarter. That's looking pretty good. The only one that's not is Rutgers blowing out Michigan State, which I'm very surprised with. That's another 5-point, or 5-win team that was supposed to win because they had all the motivation today that probably will not. They're down 31-7, but that'll be an ugly loss for Michigan State. So, if I could get even one, I prefer two, obviously. But if I could get even one out of these three, then we got Texas A&M later on tonight, and then we got Kansas State and Iowa State. We get two, we win ourselves $200 for a $10 investment. So keep your fingers crossed.
I love where you're going with that, but things are getting crazy on the football field today. We talked about Ohio State and Michigan. Now Auburn and Bama are going at each other. One of their players was pushing Bama's player outside, way outside. They started in a fight. All the players got into it. Bama's head coach, I believe, got unsportsmanlike conduct out there. It was thrown on Bama. He was screaming. I don't know if it was thrown on the coach. It's crazy out there on college football Saturday.
See, that stuff is so I'm so tired. I must be getting old, Joe. I said that before the show, right? Really, I'm bored with that stuff. Stop. Throw the guys out. You want to play football, or you're trying to protect your manhood. I mean, I understand tempers flare a little bit, but just like the one good thing about the NBA, it could be a pain in the butt. It really can. But whenever there's a scuffle, you leave the bench, you're suspended. No questions asked, no debating, no, you leave the bench in a scuffle, you're suspended, case closed. And that's really stopped this stuff. It really has. Baseball doesn't do that. They encourage these bozos to run from the outfield, from the bullpens and everything else. And college football here as well. You got both benches. Now, this was on the Alabama side, so their bench didn't empty. But, the Auburn bench empties. We saw in the Michigan, Ohio State game. If they turn out to not suspend anyone from that Michigan-Ohio State brawl, and that was a pretty good – that lasted a good couple of minutes. I mean, that's an all-out brawl. There's no security, to protect people. Half the people are trying to get off the field. You got cheerleaders and band members and everything else, and then you got the other half of the people that are throwing punches at each other. That's just stupid. It's just like – and same thing here, throw both those guys out, boom. Put an end to it. Simple as that. That's what I would do as an official. But
yeah, I completely agree. On the football field, there never should be those fights breaking out. But don't take it away from hockey, Scott. Don't you dare come at hockey and say, these fights have to go.
Yeah, hockey, we encourage it. Hockey, it's mandatory. It's a penalty if you don't fight in hockey. I've long stated that. It's got to have a fight, a period. Otherwise, both teams get the power play. Yeah, I'm all for that. Definitely. So.
Okay, good. I'm glad we're on the same page with that one. But you know what? I wanted to point out, Florida Atlantic is up 56-16 over Tulsa. The total going into that one, Scott, I'm so glad I wrote it to the over. It was 57.5. Florida Atlantic almost going over that total themselves so far in this game. There's still a full quarter left here. We just entered the fourth. Wow. Crazy.
That's nuts. Yeah. Like I said, every week there's one of these goofy games, right? And just you keep on playing the overs, and that apparently is going to be the one. So 56-16. Mine hasn't locked right now. So what are we at? We're at 72 points. What are we going to put that at? 80 or so? 85, 86, 85 and a half. Look at that.
Look at you, Scott. You're always right on those numbers. You're dead right. You just called it. I love it.
How about that? At least I'm right about something there. BC scored again. This was 20-17. Literally like 2-3 minutes ago, and now it's 34-17. So up to 17-point lead, and the point spread is 16.5. I think they just locked it. But I was going to say take Pittsburgh because they were giving you a big odds at 16.5. I think they're probably good for an by the way touchdown.
Look who took the lead after being down, 21-0. Syracuse is now leading this game.
Wow.
35-28 versus Miami, Florida. Lines are locked. Wow. Miami, Florida has the ball. I'm seeing on their own 26-yard line, but we've seen 21 points here in the third quarter by Syracuse.
Let me see. There's so many tiebreaker scenarios. So if Miami loses, they're out of the ACC championship game. As long as SMU holds on and wins, and they're winning big. So it'll be SMU and Clemson. So Miami at 10-2, would they get in if they were to lose this game as an at-large bid? That's what everyone kind of feared. Like everyone outside of the ACC, Joe, was hoping Miami. They're the most prominent team. Like Clemson with 3 losses, they're not going to get an at-large bid. SMU, as good as they are, doesn't bring the cachet and the reputation that Miami does. They've been poo-pooing SMU the whole year. It was Miami. They're rooting for Miami to win because then they pencil the ACC as one team conference and more at-large bids for all the SEC and Big Ten teams. But if Miami were to lose at 10-2, it's not a bad loss. I know they're a double-digit favorite, but Syracuse is halfway decent. They would be 9-3. That's a pretty good record. Who's Miami got wins over this year?
Yeah, exactly.
Florida.
I was shocked Clemson lost today. Clemson losing to South Carolina as a 2.5-point favorite at home in that one. South Carolina winning 17-14. I didn't see that coming. I thought would get more out of Clay Kubnik and Sellers there for South Carolina. I expected both of those quarterbacks to be able to get those passing touchdowns on the board and really drive this game. I expected a higher scoring one as well, Scott.
Yeah. This was a game, again, listen, it's a rivalry, so they tried. But Clemson, in order to get to the ACC championship game, would need Miami to lose, no matter what they did today. So it's kind of like one of those type of situations. So, all right, Eitan Shander coming up next here on the Grid.
two guys that can do it all. It's
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at Marcus Johnson, when you look at Nikola Jokic, these aren't guys that are big, super athletic, dunking and jumping over people. These are just guys that are clean, skilled footwork, and do things below the rim that make the everyday guy look like it'd be like, I can do that. But you can't, and neither can I.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Hi, welcome back in Game Live. College football game day here on the grid. Scott and Joe checking out all the action for another 35 minutes or so. Got a bunch of games that are underway, and we got Penn State scored another touchdown, 38-7. I'm going to hit that same game parlay, except for Maryland's punt, but I digress. Let's get some winners for some of the games that are going to be starting a little bit later on tonight with our good buddy Eitan Shander from oddshopper.com. There he has been trying to track you down for weeks. You don't answer texts, you don't answer phone calls, but
Right.
First opportunity to come on the air. Oh, yeah, I'm there, Scott. Hey, when do you need me? What's going on, brother?
Absolutely. I actually have a filter on my phone, Joe, that's specific for media requests. And anytime that I get one, that's how it is. And of course I freeze as soon as I come on, even though we've been talking fine for 5 minutes.
Seems to be the way. That really does seem to be the way when you go live all of a sudden. Is there anything that you are sweating right now out there that's going on the board, Anton? Maybe we might have lost him, Scott.
Yep, I think we lost him. All right, so he's having some technical issues. Weather has been crazy. I tell you, you know what? Here in New York, it's been gorgeous. It's the weirdest thing. And every time I go online, and I open up a website, it goes to all these pictures of all the snow in New York State, upstate, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. They close roads. And I'm like, I'm sitting here in 50, it's not warm, but it's 50 degrees and sunny out. So we'll try and hook up.
Just rub it in. I'm up in Calgary, Alberta. You know how cold it is here, how much snow I have. My dogs, when I ask them if they want to go for a walk, they hide from me. They don't want to put their boots on. They don't want to put their coats on. No one wants to go outside. So I still do. I like my walks. So maybe I'll be walking alone tonight.
Yeah, me too. I usually get my cigars out there, and I go for a little cigar walk.
Nice.
All right, let's take a look at some of these games then. And Eitan will rejoin us here in a couple of moments since we got a little bit of a pause in action. Indiana laying 29.5, a rivalry game against Purdue. It's a big number, I know, Joe, but Purdue is awful. As favorites since 1990 against Purdue, which doesn't happen often. They're 9-1 straight up, 4-6 though against the spread. This is their biggest spread in this series in 20 years. Indiana 8-2 over this season. They've lost 10 straight as Purdue. I mean, it really does. They're only 3-8 against the spread. I know it's a big number, but Indiana's been a covering machine up until recently, but I think they take out the frustration of last week on Purdue. I like them. This has got to be 45-7 written all over it.
Okay. If they get to 45, then my bet cashes as well. I'm going to take their team total over 42.5 for Indiana here. That's coming in at -112. So we both can win. I like it, Scott.
All right. Florida's laying 16.5 against Florida State. Another team. Listen, I know we get upsets. We do in these rivalry games, but Florida State is just awful. 1-7 against winning teams, only 2-9 overall. One of the wins was against Charleston Southern. They beat them last week. Otherwise, they would be 1-10. So I'm not even going to count that as a favorite against Florida State since 2000. Florida 9-0 straight up, 7-2 against the spread. I think, again, to me, it's got 40-10 written all over it. Give me Florida laying the big wood.
Yeah, I like Florida here. And I also like DJ Lagway. I like him to be able to come out, move that ball. He's got a passing prop of 231.5. I would take that to the over at -112. But I also think you could look at him for that anytime touchdown. I think we could actually see him run one in. I was just going to pull up that. +155 for Lagway to get in the end zone. I also trust in Elijah Badger to be able to do the same. His prop coming in at +125 to get in the end zone, and his receiving prop for Badger is at 70.5, Scott. So I'm going to play all of those.
All right. This is more for me an anti-LSU play than a pro-Oklahoma play, but I'm going to take the Sooners plus 4, 5, 6.5, depending on where you do your shopping. Great win last week against Alabama, their best win of the season by far. LSU, they did win last week, but they failed to cover 4 straight. They're playing for nothing. I know Baton Rouge Saturday night, but not with this team. Give me Oklahoma, maybe winning outright.
This is gonna be a battle, right? Because you look at Jackson Arnold here. He ran the ball last week 25 times himself. He's been so strong out there for Oklahoma. I just worry maybe that they left it all on the field last week. And you look at Brian Kelly, you look at everything here that he's gone through over the last week, losing that recruit in Underwood. And I do think he needs a big statement win. He needs to get it done, even though you know that he doesn't really need it, but I think he wants it here at home in Death Valley at night. I'm going to lay the points with them and expect them to be able to cover it, Scott.
All right, we'll check out the other games when we come back in Game Live.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun. I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at Marcus Johnson, when you look at Nikola Jokic, these aren't guys that are big, super athletic, dunking and jumping over people. These are just guys that are clean, skilled footwork, and do things below the rim that make the everyday guy look like it'd be like, I can do that. But you can't, and neither can I.
Betting above the rim, Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live. College football game day here on the grid. Scott and Joe for another, a half hour or so. We'll hook up with Eitan next week. The connection just wasn't good. No big deal, but we'll definitely check in with him next week here. So we got a touchdown on the board from La Tech. They went for two. Actually, you know what? That's kind of weird. They were leading 17-0. And now it's showing 26-0. How did they score 9 points? Did they score a touchdown and then Kennesaw, fumble and get a safety? Is that the
Either way? I don't care because they pushed us over the total in the third quarter of 7.5. So whatever they did,
right?
Thank you, right, Louisiana Tech. Good call, right? You've also got their team total over 27.5, correct?
Yeah, so I need a couple more points. Let me that must have been what happened. They must have scored, and then where are you, Kennesaw State here? And then I guess fumbled the ensuing kickoff. That would make the only sense to get 9 points there. It happened right away. Where are we here? Gamecast here, 26-0. Just out of curiosity's sake. That I haven't posted yet, but all right. So they're saying 26-0, and I'm looking at a 4-letter network, and they got 9 points as well. So that must be the score. They do make mistakes at times, but 26-0. You got your 9. Boy, if that is what happened, Joe, they scored that touchdown. With not much more than a minute left in that third quarter, and if they got to say, wow, that would be, there's bad beat segments that we all like to watch and talk about. That would be if you had the under, let's just say, 7.5. But for you, nice to be on the right side of those bad beats. That's pretty cool.
Definitely. And that's luck. That's a gift. That's a little bit of, in hockey, you call it puck luck. What kind of luck do we call it out there on the football field? Just a gift, right?
Yeah,
just a gift. Right?
Yeah, they actually got the safety first, according to the play-by-play here. Team recovered a fumble for a safety with 2 minutes left to go in the third quarter, and the ensuing drive, kid ran 35 yards for a touchdown with 7 seconds left. You scored on a 35-yard touchdown. Just make a stupid tackle, right? Just and you lose the bet. So congratulations, you got your 8 points. So.
I nice. Tell you, I love those quarter bets, Scott, because I love it's just like in hockey, the first period bets, you look at something, we're coming out of halftime or want something quick to cash, don't want to sit there and sweat it out for the full half of those games looking at that quarter. Should we go in on the next quarter here? We got a total of 35.5. Fourth quarter, Louisiana Tech laying 2.5, Kennesaw State plus 2.5. You're getting plus money. I don't trust them to do anything. They could get shut out. There's no shutout bet though, Scott. I can't get it.
They don't offer that. They don't offer that on all the games for some reason. Yeah. And naturally, this will be the one that we get the shutout. And any coincidence, this is the one they're not going to offer to you, because they realize, what, they actually could get a shutout. No matter what we offer, we'll end up losing it. The Kennesaw State has thrown for 60 yards. Is this their regular Now, listen, they're not any good, but Davis Bryson, is he the regular? Yeah, he's the regular quarterback. All right, so he's thrown for 60 yards today, and they've run for 53. They got 113 yards total offense. Barring a turnover, I would think, unless, Louisiana Tech just calls off the dogs completely and gives up an by-the-way touchdown. But at 4-7, you know what? I'm thinking they're going for a shutout here. So this would have been one that I would have played. I'd be more inclined to lay the 28.5, thinking La Tech will score again versus Kennesaw State scoring.
So. Oh, absolutely. I think that's exactly where you'd have to look if you want to jump in live. TCU's taken the early lead here in the first quarter over Cincinnati. They're up 7-0. We still have 3 minutes and 52 seconds left in this first quarter, and we have Cincinnati with the ball, but they're 3rd and 10 on their own 19-yard line. So that spread has moved to 7.5. Scott, total of 51.5. I have a feeling we're going to get some points in this one, though. 51.5 to the overs minus 120. Any thoughts on that total?
First quarter, it's still, so you got 7 points. I would tend to go over on that. Why not? TCU playing for nothing. Cincinnati, high-scoring team. Unless the weather is really bad, I have to turn that game on. But 51.5 is not nothing crazy. NC State has grabbed a 26-23 lead over North Carolina, and they got the football. 6.5 minutes left, so our coach's fired system in a little bit of trouble here. They're giving you North Carolina plus 5.5. I still think somehow, some way they're going to come back and win this football game. But getting 5.5 down, but North Carolina State's got the ball at their own 20-yard line, according to this, and I got the game on here. So I'm surprised that they're actually giving you 5.5 being down or leading only 3. So I might take a crack at North Carolina, one more time, believe it or not. BC, first and goal at the Pitt 6. They're going to beat Pittsburgh 34-23 with a minute left. So game went way over, and barring something crazy here, they're going to cover the spread as well. Auburn did score, cut the Iron Bowl lead to 28-14 now. Everything is locked up there. And Notre Dame's grabbed a 2-touchdown lead over USC early fourth quarter, 35-21. That one is locked up. Penn State's still leading by 31, 38-7. That's looking pretty good. And they got at the Maryland 11-yard line. But this is big because the over-under was 50.5. And this is where we need James Franklin to be James Franklin, right? They're leading by 31. They're laying 24.5. Let's get another touchdown in here, and then it's going to go over the 50.5. And then a Penn State, laying 24.5 over 50.5 parlay or reverse will more than likely hit. So we don't need a field goal here. We need a touchdown at a good old JF who loves to run up the score.
Yeah, but they're 2nd and 10 on Maryland's 11-yard line, so I think they have every ability to get it done. Auburn, or no, maybe that was Syracuse's. I think we just jumped to Syracuse. No, Miami, Florida. They've tied it up. It's 35-35 there. I was just seeing glimpses on my TV, seeing that white uniform, but it did have flashes of orange. So Syracuse is 2nd and 9 on their own 37-yard line in a tied game. Did you take this one to go to overtime, Scott? I don't think you did, right? You had Notre Dame to go to overtime?
Yeah, because
you don't get this one.
Yeah, so the Notre Dame one. Although I see USC's got it first and goal at the Notre Dame 2, so they busted off a long play. So I'll back in it, with that one. So that wouldn't be bad. Arizona State 49-7 over Arizona. That's been a blowout from really from start to finish. Rutgers blowing out Michigan State. That's one of my overtime games, but that's not happening. 34-14. Good win for RU. I tell you, they don't blow the game last week. That they win this week and they finish 8-4. That's a real good year for Rutgers around here. 8 wins. It usually takes them a decade to get 8 wins. So. Great shot is a little goofy, but 7-5 is not bad. But boy, 8-4 in the game that you just should have won. Just don't call timeout, or just don't allow them to throw a 40-yard touchdown pass. That's the other thing. But shoulda, woulda, coulda. Missouri up 6. That's not good. 6 minutes left. They kicked a field goal. That's one of our overtime games. Not happy. Now we need like a missed extra point out of Arkansas. Fudge. Not happy with that one. Interesting. Look at this, though, Joe. You want to bet? Missouri's winning by 6. Yeah. My screen says, and I'll put the game on here. My screen says it's 4th and 8 for Arkansas, and Missouri's only laying 1.5. That can't be.
Interesting. No.
That's got to be a first down. Yeah.
We know something's happened there.
Yeah. There's just no. By 6 with 5 minutes left, they would give you -1.5. No way. Yeah. Let me put this game on.
Look at Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic now has 63 points on the board. We were talking about that total going into this game. It was 57.5. So Florida Atlantic going over that total themselves in this game over Tulsa. Tulsa has 16 points on the board. I can't believe what Florida Atlantic has been able to do in this game, Scott, just racking up the points. And they still have, they're going to kick it off right now. So we'll see. Auburn, I know there's an injury timeout on the field as well. Auburn rattled off a big play and one of their players got hurt out there, Scott.
63-16. Yikes. More coming up.
two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun. I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at Marcus Johnson, when you look at Nikola Jokic, these aren't guys that are big, super athletic, dunking and jumping over people. These are just guys that are clean, skilled footwork, and do things below the rim to make the everyday guy look like it'd be like, I can do that. But you can't, and neither can I.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
All right, things starting to get a little dicey here as these 3:30 kickoff Eastern time games come down to the wire. We'll start from the top. Arkansas scores a touchdown. I told you that down, 5 late, getting 1.5. That was, that was someone asleep at the wheel. That was not the case. Turned the game on. That's the Arkansas inside the 10-yard line. So we knew that line wasn't right. So they score a touchdown, barely, and I mean just barely get the extra point. So they take a 1-point lead, 21-20, 4 minutes now left to go. And Missouri's got the ball with all their timeouts. Still plenty of time, but they are now down by 1. Rutgers leads big, 41-14. No big deal there. Same thing, Arizona State, 49-7 over Arizona. Penn State did not score. And not only didn't they score, leading by 31, Maryland now has the ball at the Penn State 44-yard line, looking for the, by the way, backdoor cover. If I know James, he's got his starter still in there in a 31-point game, which is just okay with me because I'm sitting on you there, Penn State, laying you 24.5. So we'll keep you posted on that. USC scored, make it 35-28 now with 8.5 minutes left to go. Notre Dame still leads, laying 7.5, interestingly enough. 70.5 is that total. We talked about the over, no defense being played so far, so that's the case remains. Alabama 28-14 over Auburn, 11.5 minutes left. They have it. Bama does, deep inside their own territory, though. And SMU tacked on another touchdown, leading 31-6. And NC State with a field goal, leading 29-23 with 2 minutes left. So we need some help there if we expect North Carolina to win this one and cover the 3.5, Joe.
Yeah, you like Louisiana Tech. Their team total over 27.5, Scott, and it looks like it's in a good situation to hit. We see them first and goal on Kennesaw State, 10-yard line. Or first and goal on Kennesaw State's 10-yard line. So that spread has moved to 32.5 as Kennesaw State still hasn't been able to put any points on the board. TCU still leading Cincinnati 7-0, and they are in position to score again. 2nd and 8 on Cincinnati's 9-yard line. So that spread has moved to 9.5 in that matchup. But you mentioned that one game there between, which one was it? Let me just pull it up.
Wow.
I was looking at the one game, Arkansas and Missouri. I was going to say, if you like Missouri, it was plus 148 on the money line. And that I think these teams can go back and forth in these final 3 minutes of this game.
I got the Penn State game on, Joe. This is really amazing. I tell you what, this is why we bet Penn State. I mean, this is why we do it, laying 24.5. Penn State's got the ball, Joe. They're up 38-7, right? Final minute. And they're running a hurry-up offense. There was 18 seconds left on second down. They just completed a play, and Penn State ran another play, hurry-up offense into the end zone, incomplete, and they throw a pass, and Penn State scores, and they're going to win this one 45. Wow. I don't think they kicked the extra point. They're going to win it 44-7. Now, they were covering 31-7, like the score was, 31 point. They are covering. I want to see this handshake, because how do you explain that? I mean, it's just like, wow.
50 and a half was our total going in, Scott. We cleared the 50 and a half, right?
Yeah, they're having. People in TV are so stupid, right? I mean, there's the head coach of Maryland and James Franklin, and you could see the head coach of Maryland, Loxley. He's having words, right, with Franklin, and then they break away from that and show some stupid players in the stands. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm waiting for the one guy to throw a punch at Franklin, and you're going to take your. Who's the producer that is looking at that and saying, all right, I got two head coaches going at it with each other, and we're going to break away from that to go show some people in the stands? I mean, are you idiots? Our field is filled with a bunch of morons. It really is.
Maybe someone in his ear said, Scott, get off it. They're going to throw punches. We can't have that happen. They can't do that.
Why not? Here. That's what TV's for. We could show the Ohio State players and Michigan players throwing punches. Why not the head coaches? But that said, Joe, I mean, think about that. Go, if you get a chance later on, you YouTube final minute Penn State, and this team is running a hurry up offense, 38-7. They ran a play, clock is rolling, under 20 seconds left. Penn State rushes to the line to run another play. They throw a pass in the end zone, incomplete with 4 seconds left. And then they throw another pass, touchdown, final play, and they win 44-7.
Someone called in the over. That over before a game, 50 and a half. We got it.
I'm telling you, Joe. I'm telling you that people think it's a scam, and who's betting it under in a Penn State game, laying 24.5, right? Every booster at Penn State is betting what? Penn State in the over. You don't bet laying 24.5 in the under, especially at 50.5, right? You bet the over. And listen, I'm not yelling and screaming. Like, I had it. I got Penn State, gave out Penn State in the over to the guys, so I'm as thrilled as anything. But when you see it play out that way, it's just like, come on. Don't tell me gambling is not incorporated into these actions by the head coaches. It just is. There's just no two ways about it. I mean, really, if you're a Penn State fan, it's embarrassing. It is. That's you're going to hurry up to the offense, to the line, leading 38-7 to score another touchdown. Wow. All right.
No wonder they're having words. When you put it that way, no wonder they're having words. Right? I guess I'd have words as well. Right?
Yeah.
Syracuse still up. Look at that. They're up 42-35 over Miami, Florida. The Miami, Florida, though, is on Syracuse's 36-yard line, 1st and 10. They need to score here in this game because there's only 7 minutes left in this fourth quarter, Scott. Spread is 2.5 now.
Miami's a lot like the Kansas City Chiefs, right? You got KC in the NFL, Joe, and you got Miami in college football. They just find ways to win these games. They've won so many games down the stretch where they had no business winning. This might be another one, but, they got to be sweating for sure. North Carolina scored a touchdown. That's the good news. Bad news is they only lead by 1. And there's under 2 minutes left. So we need something crazy to happen here. Maybe a defensive touchdown to cover the 3.5. So, all right, we'll close up shop next. Joe, you're on the grid.
two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at Marcus Johnson, when you look at Nikola Jokic, these aren't guys that are big, super athletic, dunking and jumping over people. These are just guys that are clean, skilled footwork, and do things below the rim that make the everyday guy look like it'd be like, I can do that. But you can't, and neither can I.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, college football game day. I do enjoy watching TV. I really do. So they had James Franklin on. Of course, the sideline reporter, the post game. They didn't ask him about scoring that touchdown with no time left and hurrying to the line. But she did ask him a question about they did clinch the spot in the Big Ten championship game. They get in, they get the tiebreaker over Indiana for whatever reason. And then she asked him, assuming you lose that game, Coach, the Big Ten championship game, you're going to host a playoff game the following week. What's that going to be like? It's like, what? You're telling a coach he's going to lose in a Big Ten championship game? Because if they win, they don't host. They get the bye. So anyway, Penn State wins, Joe. So 31, there you go. 30-29, I need a defensive touchdown. I got North Carolina State with the ball at their own 49-yard line, trailing by 1, but we got North Carolina lay into 3. That's not looking good. USC's got the ball. Here we go. Down 7 against Notre Dame, 5 minutes left. They got at their own 34-yard line. Can the Irish make a stop? That is the question. Up 7. Their playoff hopes certainly, maybe, I shouldn't say that, maybe on the line. Maybe they could survive a loss, but obviously they want to win. We got Bama up 14, 5.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Barring disaster, they're going to win that. Laying 14.5 as they have the ball at the Auburn 42. So if you think they're going to cover and add some more points on the board, I tell you, I would take that 14.5. If you want to have a little sprinkle on a game that's probably decided, I'll take my chances Alabama doesn't score here, or even if they do, Auburn's going to get the ball back, Joe, with a chance to get an oh-by-the-way touchdown. So they just flipped it to plus money to minus 130. Yeah, a little different now. I think I'd still take it, but it was plus 114. It was plus 14.5, plus 105. Now it's plus 14.5, minus 130. Big difference.
Oh, yeah, it is a big difference. I was just looking at the breakdown for the Notre Dame game. With what Riley Leonard's been able to do. Scott, you said it. Riley Leonard's going to be the one that breaks this parlay that I have, because I had Riley Leonard for the anytime touchdown, which he was able to get. Jeremiah Love for over his rushing yards. He's put up 99, so that has cash. Notre Dame over 30.5 points. And then Riley Leonard to go over his passing prop. I need this one to go to overtime, right? Because he's at 155. The number was 198.5. You said it. You said it right out of the gate. I should have known.
Yeah. Listen, the same thing with me. My same game parlay. Penn State laying 24.5, winner. Over 50.5, thank you very much. That last touchdown, winner. Penn State wins the fourth quarter. They do, winner. Over 6.5 points, Maryland, winner. The only one, Maryland first possession punt. I mean, we talked about it, right? It's kind of funny. Would I rather have had a loser late in a parlay like that, or, when you're only going to lose one piece? It is better, but I must say, had they scored that last touchdown to complete my, same game parlay like it would have done, that would have been pretty funny. That would have been pretty exciting at 7-1. But
it definitely would have been exciting. I still can't believe that first play by Maryland. It was the only points they put on the board, Scott, was on that one drive, which adds even more insult to injury. The only time they were able to get it, very first drive of the game.
Think about that. The very first try, they didn't score again after that if you had their over total. Wow, that's pretty bad. All right, time for our last plays of the night before we hand it off to Casey Hudson. We'll take you over the next half hour here on the grid. So time for a little Black Cloud play of the day. I do like this one. I really do. Oops. I think I froze here.
Okay, Scott will be back in the next couple of seconds. Before he comes back with that Black Cloud play, let's just look at what I'm liking for the rest of the night. We've got Oklahoma taking on LSU tonight, and I really do think Brian Kelly's going to come out and make a statement. I'll lay the 6 points with LSU in this one at home in Death Valley. Brian Kelly's had one heck of a week after losing that top recruit there in Bryce Underwood, and I think he's going to come out looking to make a statement. And then Texas and Texas A&M, I'm going to look for Texas A&M to keep their team total under 21.5 points tonight. That's coming in at minus 118. I do think defense shows up in this. I know we've got a great quarterback here in Ewers here for Texas, and that's why I'm not playing with the full game total. I think Reed will be able to use his legs in this game and get things done. But, Scott, I'll throw it over to you. I know you got that Black Cloud that you're ready to give out.
Yeah, it's okay. We got it. I'm going to go with James Madison laying the 3.5. You buy the hook if you want against Marshall, which is 2-10 in the second half of back-to-back road games. Great spot for JMU. Give me James Madison, the Dukes. Joe, great job. Casey Hudson coming up next.
We're at a point in time coming off of a wild Saturday of college football. People are consistently peeking over at this board.
He actually would not be my number one overall pick, nor would I bet him to be the number one overall pick. I think you got that next wave of NFL players, which is so enticing, which when you see Jaden Daniels come into the NFL and you go, I can get something like that with a guy with just as good an arm.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Welcome into college football today here on SportsGrid TV, or I should say welcome back in case you joined us for that 3 to 3:30 slate Eastern time. That is, we've been breaking down the college football games. We've been bringing you privy to all of the odds, lines, and angles for these matchups. It's rivalry week, so it doesn't get any better, but more importantly, it is the end of the regular college football season. So if you are just now joining us, getting up to date on all of the excitement for college football, let's catch you up now with some scores currently going on before we touch back to the top of the day, start painting that playoff picture as for what we saw this morning, and then get you prepared for the games coming up between 7:30, and 8 p.m. tonight. Right now, Arizona State stamping their ticket forward. This team, first 10-win season for this team. They have been impressive. They have checked all the boxes, and they have executed in all three phases of football where they needed to, especially when it comes to the Big 12 Conference. 49-7 being the beating that they put on rival Arizona today. And look, we're used to talking about Arizona in a more flattering light. We know that they haven't had the best season thus far, and plus there's a, pretty famous tight end that's come out of that school. So when you talk about football, you're usually talking about the Wildcats, but not this season, no. You're talking about the Sun Devils this season and their hunt to be in the Big 12 title team and then run away with that title as well. So many things just executed flawlessly for this team. You're talking about Sam Levitt through the air, 291, 3 touchdowns, 0 turnovers. Their defense came up strong in so many other ways, but Scatabo on the ground, we have to talk about him, and I'm sure we'll talk about him more tonight with Rich and Dubs, because he was the talk of the town. He was the talk of college football last weekend, and he deserves even more flowers this weekend. 177 on the ground through 21 carries, 3 touchdowns, and I know you're thinking, you're talking about the Arizona Wildcats, but he has been so consistent as a workhorse for the Sun Devils team in a number of ways. Plus, it's not like it's just all action on the ground for the Arizona State Sun Devils. No, it's through the air as well. Tyson going toe-to-toe with his quarterback, matching tempo with 143 through the air and 8 receptions, 1 touchdown to help add to the tally. So another flawless performance by the Sun Devils team, stamping their ticket. They got a lot to celebrate. I'm sure there was even more storming of fans on either way on the field, but they were away, but still there's Arizona State fans that are sitting there celebrating them. But just to see what they have done, and they're the team that we talked about earlier today on College Football Today in terms of the new kid on the block sneaking into some playoff conversation here. Now you're looking at them potentially sitting at a 12 seed. Things are going to shake up because there was also some big losses today as well. But as of this morning, got Arizona State potentially taking on Ohio State being one of those teams that fell short to Michigan. But that's something that we'll also get into between today as well as tonight on the post-game show. Moving forward from Arizona State and their victory, you've got an interesting matchup that's gone back and forth between Arkansas and Missouri. 2-minute morning in the fourth quarter right now. And for the most part, you had a toe-to-toe game heading into halftime, tied up 7-7. Coming back from this, Missouri struggling to find the end zone all throughout the third quarter. Arkansas coming in strong with their defense, and then it's just kind of been a back-and-forth battle in this fourth quarter. Again, 2 minutes, not much time to tango, but 21-20. Arkansas out ahead. Green with 180 through the air for Arkansas, but Jackson on the ground, 87, and 3 of those touchdowns for the tally for Arkansas to be out ahead. Armstrong through the air, though, you got 103 receiving yards through 8 receptions. Nothing too bad over on Missouri's side. 168 through the air, not a bunch of turnovers, only 90 on the ground, 100 for their top receiver, that being Weiss Jr., but that's what I mean by it's just going neck and neck. But Arkansas has kind of had the reins on this one for the most part in terms of being more competitive and having a little bit more of that edge. Another game that just continues to ebb and flow and go back and forth. At first, it looked like Miami was completely in control. Then Syracuse just comes storming in. Now, if you guys caught in-game live during the halftime reporter when Scott and Joe were chatting, I was talking about the fact that McCord has just been so exciting to watch for Syracuse. We knew it was going to be a shootout between 2 top quarterbacks in college football. You got top passing yardage, record-breaking passing yardage coming out of Cam Ward, a Heisman candidate at that. But right now, between the 2 quarterbacks, you got Ward sitting at 319, 2 touchdowns through the air. You got McCord sitting at 380, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. His precision, his accuracy, his execution has just been so chef's kiss out there for Syracuse, making this game that much more exciting to watch. But I also talked about the fact that his football IQ just continues to flex. He is making tremendous plays and finding tremendous plays for this Syracuse team. So, like I mentioned, it's gone back and forth a lot. Tied off going into halftime, 14-14. Coming back out, it was all Syracuse, picking up 21 points in the third quarter. And then right now, 7-7 apiece in the fourth quarter with 6:10 to go. So we've seen Miami have those late rallies. We know that it's never over for Cameron Ward until that final whistle blows. We'll see what takes place. So anybody who got combination bets when it comes to these two quarterbacks, congratulations, because they have lived up to the hype. Before halftime, you had Martinez on the ground only sitting at like 30-some-odd rush yards. Now, depending on the tempo of that second half, I mentioned that it could potentially ramp up. He has gotten up to 72 rush yards through 8 carries, 1 touchdown. The step up through the air, 142 through 8 receptions. So still a bit more game to go, especially when it comes down to clock management here. But it'll be exciting to see who comes out on top because Miami really wants that ACC title or to contend for that title. Another team that got into the mix in the bracket. They were not in the bracket last week when we started painting the playoff picture. We know that this switches every Tuesday once the AP polls come out. But SMU, they're another one putting up strong numbers, 31-6 over California. This should be as expected, though. But I was talking about SMU sneaking into the bracket, the challenge that they can present, and they're set up to potentially go against Notre Dame. I found this interesting because of the high-tempo offense that SMU can play with, and Notre Dame is kind of struggling against USC right now, something else we'll touch on momentarily. But defensively, we've seen Notre Dame be kind of put against the ropes in a number of ways. Yes, they've been tremendous since week 2 with the chip on their shoulder, but SMU can be a bit sneaky. Right now, you got Jennings in the air, their QB. 222, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 67 on the ground for Brashad Smith, and then also in the air, 66 receiving yards through 3 receptions. So they just kind of have a really balanced attack offense. They don't have to heavily rely on the run game or the passing game to get the job done. SMU comes in strong when it comes to their planning and attacking. Then we've got Auburn versus Alabama. Right now, Alabama holding true to securing the W on this one, 28-14, 6:30 left in the fourth quarter. Milroe, 254 through the air, 1 turnover. So I mentioned before halftime actually, in in-game live, Auburn's one of those sneaky teams, especially in their secondary. They get their hands on the ball. They get very disruptive. They become very challenging to play against. But then the game can get very messy. So those strong teams have to be able to pull you back into their game. Alabama's been able to do that in this second half. Not the third quarter as much. Auburn's starting to sneak back into the mix in the third quarter. But fourth quarter really has been all Alabama, controlling the tempo, controlling the game. Crimson Tide picked up 14 points in the third, but Auburn started to try to catch up there momentarily. On top of the 254 through the air for Milroe, it's 98 rushing yards through 16 carries, 3 rushing touchdowns for this quarterback. If you don't walk into this match and picking him up for a rushing TD, I don't know what we're doing. And then helping him out through the air is Bernard, 109 receiving yards through 6 receptions. So it should be a lock-in when it comes to Alabama. Still, I'm not sure how much it'll shake up when it comes to the playoff conversation because you know a number of these teams neck and neck SEC, they can only have so many losses. And then Georgia's still kind of hanging on to a thread there. Tennessee still hanging on to a thread there. So as I mentioned, we'll see where this picture lies at the end of today and especially come Tuesday. Notre Dame and USC. Notre Dame now holding on for dear life, 35-28, but there's 7:22 left in the fourth quarter, and their defense letting up 28 points to USC is extremely concerning. Nothing against USC, but this Fighting Irish team that we've seen over the course of the last 4 weeks, 28 points is just not it, especially when we start getting into some playoff conversations. So don't go anywhere. Stick with us here on College Football Today. We're going to continue to run through the Saturday slate, as well as preview these games coming up ahead, some props, odds, and lines that you don't want to miss out on here on SportsGrid.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
we're at a point in time coming off of a wild Saturday of college football. People are consistently peeking over at this board.
He actually would not be my number one overall pick, nor would I bet him to be the number one overall pick. I think you got that next wave of NFL players, which is so enticing, which when you see Jaden Daniels come into the NFL and you go, I can get something like that with a guy with just as good an...
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Welcome back into College Football Today here on SportsGrid TV. Just as we were talking about Notre Dame's defense, not letting up 28 points, but yes, of course, you got to be a little critical if you're going to compete. Well, it's the defense that just comes in hot, extending the lead here because with a pick from Gray, taking it all the way to the house for Notre Dame, he stacks and makes the points 49-28 for Notre Dame. 1:18 left in that fourth quarter, so that's a great extension for the Fighting Irish. But again, 28 points. You don't want to do that heading into the postseason. Nothing shaking up when it comes to Auburn, Alabama. Alabama with the ball from what I'm seeing, 3rd and 3 at Alabama's 45. 27 seconds left in the fourth quarter. So this game is just about a wrap. And then as for the final, Miami falls short to Syracuse. Final score in the books being 42-38. Syracuse came out on top of this slugfest. I mean, I'm telling you, it was just crazy how much this went back and forth. 14 points in the first quarter for Miami. Syracuse responding to that in the second quarter and then just continuing to go toe-to-toe throughout the rest of the game. Syracuse coming out strong and pushing forward on top. As for the other one, in case you missed it, Arizona State 49-7 with a victory over Arizona. Missouri secures their W over Arkansas, who really tried to give them a run for their money, keeping them on the ropes throughout this entire football matchup. 28-21 being the final between Missouri and Arkansas. Just getting going here, you've got Purdue versus Indiana. Now, not much of a preview on this one. This is just more of a prove-it spot for Indiana, or I should say pick-me-up spot for Indiana. This is where they get back on track after an unfortunate loss. It felt like they got a little exposed last week with the consistency of the blitz coming at them, Rourke not being able to weather the storm. But for the most part, that's not exactly what they should be going against when it comes to Purdue. We've seen Purdue get shut out of a number of games this season. So Indiana get in a get-right spot here, 29.5 on the spread, 56.5 when it comes to the total. I think that Indiana is completely purpose and poised to get back on track in this matchup. Now looking ahead to some other big games coming in tonight for Rivalry Weekend. I love Rivalry Weekend so much. It's the perfect way to close out any season. 4.5 on the spread, 49.5 on the total between Texas and Texas A&M. Now slowly breaking this one down because last week Quinn Ewers did have an ankle injury. That's going to be his second injury of the season. He was questionable all week. Looks like he's a go between the sports books, and we haven't seen anything putting him as inactive for tonight. doesn't really raise alarm because regardless, when he was out with his oblique injury earlier in the season, we saw Arch Manning come in and be strong for him. We know that they actually have quality depth when it comes to the QB position for Texas. It's just going to change the rhythm of their offense and what their point of attack is going to be. With that said, it looks like Quinn Ewers is going to be fine. Pass prop sitting at 230.5, though. He only had 191 versus Kentucky, but yes, the injury played a part into that. But for the most part, we haven't seen him have to go for 230 and above since returning from that oblique injury. He took him a couple weeks when he got back from that injury to get back on track and not be shaken up. But you're going against a Texas A&M team that their defense is conceding a number of points, 20 plus, 22 to be more specific. On top of that, it's what they allow through the air. 190.8 passing yards is what the Texas A&M defense allows. So now putting that in context, yes, they can have a big game through the air, but they don't have to. Wisner is their workhorse on the ground, but Jaden Blue also had a big game versus Kentucky last week, sitting at 90-plus rushing yards. So now that you can have a work share that you can put between Wisner as well as Blue, Jaden Blue being a big red zone guy, I think that he can hand off the ball just as much as he airs it out to maybe Gunnar Helm, or we all love Isaiah Bond. Regardless, they can be very balanced in their attack versus the Aggies. But you don't want to count out what the Aggies can do. Yes, they don't sit so high and pulling up points, but they did get 40-plus on Auburn in a 4-overtime thriller last weekend. There's a number of angles that you can take with this one. Texas sitting at an average of 36.5 points, 15 when it comes to ranking, but their defense is only giving up 12.1, sitting third in the nation. This is crucial because Texas A&M likely not to pick up 40 points in this matchup. Lost on a 2-point conversion last week. Where they do have a good edge here is their clock management and their offensive possession time. They're really good at having that, which means keeping Texas's defense on the field. That could be healthy for Quinn Ewers depending on where his health truly lies, but I can see them relying on the run game just a little bit more. As for the rush yards that Texas A&M allows on the ground, 128.4. It's actually 227 through the air. So that's when you want to start looking at props such as Gunnar Helm. His number is only sitting at 43.5, which I found to be really low considering the help that he has been in the past 2 weeks, considering his numbers just last week, considering the connection between him and Ewers. And he's one of those chunk play guys. I mean, he's sitting at about an average of 10 yards per play, so he can get to that 43 number and in short amount of plays very quickly. I already talked about the fact that I like Jaden Blue when it comes to the groundwork outside of Wisner. Wisner sitting at 77.5, but Jaden Blue's only sitting at 45.5, and he picked up 90-plus rushing yards last week. So those are my favorite props looking at this matchup between Texas and Texas A&M. I like the spread on it for the most part because, as we've seen, rivalry week can kind of bring out some obscene, crazy results, and you never know where things can go. But with Ewers being questionable in his health and all the things added in, and then Texas A&M coming off of that crazy loss last weekend, this can be a close one in a number of ways. Another one to gauge is the Cougar versus the Cougar. Which one is going to be more on the prowl tonight is the bigger question. Houston versus BYU, 11.5 on the spread, 40.5 on the total. And who really has the bigger point to prove tonight? It's BYU. They went from being the perfect team to honestly just trying to push through any way that they can. But this is a great position for Russ Laff to get back to thriving. His prop sitting at 220. He averages 218, but he is coming off of a week of airing out the ball for 297 passing yards versus Arizona State, who we just raved about at the beginning of college football today. Offense for Houston Cougars, I'm trying to mix up my Cougars here, is not that strong. I don't expect them to put up much of a battle. I mean, they barely sit at 13.6 points when it comes to putting up points. This is one of those teams that rely too much on their defense, but their defense has bested some quality teams in college football. That was more so in the beginning of the year. We're starting to kind of see some of that fatigue over on the other end here. They went from holding their opponent to under 15 points to now averaging 22.3. So this is a good position for BYU to get back on top. I like Reslaff to probably hit over that 220 prop, just because coming off of 297, wanting to put on a strong performance this week and needing that confident performance, he can easily touch that 220 and run away with it. But I do expect a lot more passing in the attack when it comes to this matchup. So a few more games to preview as the 7:30, and 8 o'clock slate come around for college football, and then we'll repaint that playoff picture before we get into everything in the post-game show today. So make sure you don't go anywhere. Make sure you follow SportsGrid over at SportsGrid. Nice and easy. Make sure you stick with us here on College Football Today as we get you prepared for the other games coming up ahead and anything that we will start discussing in the post-game show coming up later tonight. So stick with us on the other side of this quick break.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was
that's what your
looking down
grandma
and did
does,
not
right?
know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back into college football today here on SportsGrid. A couple more games in the books. We got Alabama securing their W 28-14 over Auburn as that one closes out. Notre Dame as well pulling off that on-top win 49-28 over USC. And then we didn't talk about this earlier, but Penn State versus Maryland. Penn State 44-7. They really dominated, and plus they made sure that nobody felt worried or concerned or bruised after taking them on the spread. That was coming in at 24.5 before the game got going earlier today. But I will say this. Penn State needed that complete win. We've just seen them kind of drop games. We've seen them drop the spread a number of times, last week being a perfect example, 11.5 on the spread going against Minnesota, and then only coming out 26-25, and that came into a tremendous effort in a fourth quarter rally by the Nittany Lions. Now, Singleton with a big game on the ground, 87 rushing yards through 13 carries, 2 touchdowns. Warren in the air with 68 receiving yards through 6 receptions. Maryland tried to make it interesting for a moment there, but Penn State just really loaded up the points in the second quarter. They got off to that faster start that they needed. They showed up in the first half as well as the second half. A couple big plays, obviously, by their defense, who keeps them in a lot of matchups, but still, 44-7, tremendous pull-off for Penn State today. We already talked about what's coming up here. Purdue and Indiana underway. A get-right spot for Indiana. They currently have the ball, from what I'm seeing, first and 10 at Purdue's 45, driving down the field, 9:08 left in that first quarter. Coming up, we talked about Texas versus Texas A&M and what this offense might look like for Texas if Quinn Ewers is not only in, but still kind of feeling the effects of that ankle injury he collected last weekend. Again, he doesn't have to do any big movements. He doesn't have to do anything too crazy. He's got a number of great running backs to hand the ball off to, and then more importantly, that trust factor between the many targets that he can air the ball out to. So I would love to see more of a balanced attack from Texas. Over the course of the last few weeks, a few people have kind of shrugged their shoulders at Texas's performance and shrugged their shoulders at the strength of their schedule, but I still think they're one of the top teams out there because they do have depth. They have the ability to kind of change and disguise their game a little bit depending on their opponent, and I think that that's going to help them make a deeper run. In case you missed it, I talked about the fact that Wisner is their workhorse, sitting at 77.5 on the ground. Like him to obviously be involved. I mean, he's a 100-plus rush guy as often as possible. Then you got Jaden Blue gets in the mix. He's sitting at 45.5. I like his number more importantly because, again, they don't have to heavily rely on Wisner. You're at the last day of the regular season. You don't have to overwork anybody in the competition. You can attack this very smart, get Blue more involved. He had 90-plus rushing yards last weekend. And then Gunnar Helm, 43.5 for a guy who's had like 80, 90-yard performances. Please hit his over. He's averaging roughly 10 yards per reception. This should be a lock-in for him, especially against a Texas offense that lets up 227 through the air. Then we also moved on to the fact that we've got the Cougars taking on the Cougars. That's Houston versus BYU, another get-right spot for a team that fell short over the past couple of weeks. BYU sitting at 11.5 on the spread, 40.5 when it comes to the total. Houston has the ability to be defensively stout. We haven't seen it as much as we did in the first, I want to say, 7 weeks of the season, but regardless, we'll see what takes place because they can't really match pace in putting points on the board. Houston's offense is just really sluggish. BYU is in a good position here, especially Jake Wetzel. I want to see him hit 220 plus when it comes to his passing yardage. He sits at that average of 218. He's coming off of a 297 performance. Washington versus Oregon, 17.5 on the spread, 50.5 on the total. This should be a lock-in for Oregon and for us to continue to see one of the top Heisman candidates perform and go off. Nevada versus UNLV, 17.5 on the spread, 55.5 on the total. The interesting one here is Kansas State versus Iowa State. Now, depending on what happens with Iowa State, that can shake up some things down the ladder of the B12 conversation. 1.5 on the spread, 51.5 when it comes to the total. Kansas State has been so interesting because they tend to kind of show up late in games, but then they have these exciting rallies, and then as of late, it hasn't really worked out showing up late. Of course, it's not. The end of the regular season is finally upon us, but this is where they have to find more of a complete game. We've seen Iowa State drop a number of games that were very much in their hand as well, but I'm going to lean towards Kansas State on this one. And then with 1 minute left, what can I say? Florida versus Florida State. As a little girl, I've gone to this game 150 plus times. It's the game that changed my life. The spread is sitting at 16.5, total at 45.5. And I'm going to lose some friends for just a couple hours this evening, but more than likely, this is Florida's game for the taking. Their defense has been tremendous. I've bragged about their linebackers. I've bragged about their secondary. And then DJ Lagway's brought that offense a little bit more up-tempo, and the run game has been pretty exquisite versus a number of teams this season. So that's where I'll go with that one. Oklahoma versus LSU, 5.5 on the spread, 48.5. How does Oklahoma not run away with this one after their performance last weekend? It would be ridiculous if they can't. I mean, 24-3 versus Alabama. You can't mess that one up. So make sure you stick with us here on SportsGrid TV to continue all college football coverage, odds, lines, and angles for your best betting props and angles. And I'll be back for the halftime report as well as the postgame show later on tonight here on SportsGrid.
That can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun. I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Fillet Indiana. They would smash them.
What?
Honestly.
Do you listen to yourself speak? That's not a reality question. They have not played each other. You are using hypothetical.
And they got embarrassed.
So many
if
teams
they would have
do.
Won that football. Yes, that's you're
but that's the thing, guys.
correct.
No. Stop.
The only argument is Indiana is a decent football team and a product of their environment.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
What's up, everybody? Welcome in. This is In-Game Live College Football Game Day, big slate, rivalry week, and of course, bowl season and the college football playoff right around the corner. I am Adam Kaufman, joined as always by Brady Cannon. We hope everybody had a fun, restful, relaxing Thanksgiving filled with the F words, right, Brady? Family, food, football, friends, all whatever you want to throw in.
Yeah, fun, football for sure, food, no doubt about it. Yeah, we did all of the above, man. It's been great, and it continues to roll on. I had another turkey sandwich today. Of course, more football today and more football tomorrow. We'll be talking about all of that for the next 3.5 hours. And, you know, it kind of reminds me we're winding down towards the end of the football season, especially college football. Reminds me a little bit of Labor Day when you've got football for seemingly 4 or 5 days in a row. And yeah, I've been soaking up every minute of it, my friend.
It has been a wild, wonky, wacky day across college football, as well as my good friend Charlie DeCirco tweeted out a little while ago. Really kind of encapsulates the day. He wrote, "The irony of Ohio State losing a huge rivalry game with Will Howard while Kyle McCord leads Syracuse to a gigantic win against number 6 Miami is just chef's kiss." You know, it just I got to tell you, and we're going to discuss this obviously in part with our great football analysts, our college football experts that we have joining us throughout this show. We're going to have Colby Dant coming up in a little while, but first, good opportunity to welcome in a professional bettor in the college football space. He is on Twitter at Paul Stone Sports, has a website, paulstonesports.com. You should check it out. It is, of course, Paul Stone. Paul, welcome in. Happy Thanksgiving.
Hey, same to you guys. Glad to be with you. And it has been a wild and wacky day of college football so far.
Can't wait, obviously, to get into, you know, a lot of what has transpired today, including just about as uninspired performance as you could possibly imagine by Ohio State at home as a 20-point favorite in a rivalry game with Michigan today. I mean, you don't deserve to be in your conference championship game when you go out and lay an egg like OSU did today. We'll talk about the Buckeyes a little bit later on, obviously. I want to, in the interest of obviously people out there listening, watching live, wondering how to bet some of these games that are coming up, a fascinating one that I know that FanDuel has a boosted promo with. So if anyone has yet to use that, maybe you'll receive a little bit of guidance here. And that is, of course, Texas A&M getting ready to kick off here momentarily against Texas, number 3 against number 20. The Longhorns come in at 10-1, Aggies 8-3, and we have seen line movement. You know, earlier in the week, Texas A&M plus 6.5, have seen it drop to 4.5. There are still some 5.5s out there. Paul, I know just from having talked to you at the tail end of last week that you are on A&M. I am as well. I'm not sure where Brady falls on this one, but I'm curious what took you in that direction with the home team.
Well, I just think it's going to be a raucous environment tonight at Kyle Field there in College Station. You know, Texas has been, you know, their schedule has been rightfully criticized. I mean, it's just, you know, they couldn't have foreseen Michigan being down when they scheduled that home and home several years back. But, you know, they got an easy draw for the first year in the SEC, no real meat on the bone, so to speak. In the last few weeks, they have been less than prolific offensively. They had 320 yards and I believe 20 points against Arkansas. The week before, Ole Miss had almost 700 yards and scored 63 points against that same Arkansas defense. So the vertical passing game really not showing up. Don't have a great running game. I think this is going to be a rock fight. I see it as a virtual toss-up, so the points seem like a bonus. First one to 24 wins.
Yeah, make it a triple play, Adam. I am on the Aggies as well. I was able to get 5.5. I feel pretty good about that number. It's ahead of where the market is currently. But Paul, it seems like, and this doesn't always translate into, predicting wins, but it seems like there's more on the line here for Texas A&M. They probably have to win tonight to have any hope of getting into the college football playoff, whereas Texas maybe is already, made their way into the top 12 here. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I don't know how anybody can be inside the committee's collective mind, but those in the business of laying percentages on the possibilities of a team making the playoff, just about all of them indicate that Texas is almost 100% in, even with a loss. So A&M certainly has more on the line. I think if they advance to the SEC championship game, with all the chaos and confusion that we've seen this year, I think if you get into the SEC championship game, or for that matter, the Big Ten championship game, you're going to be in this 12-team tournament. So I think A&M, Coach Elko said it earlier this week, the playoffs start Saturday night at Kyle Field against Texas for the Aggies.
Perfection, Paul, a rare thing at this stage of the season, obviously, but it still applies to the Ducks. 11-0 going into tonight's action, which begins momentarily against Washington. 6-5. Huskies not nearly the club they were last year, but still an opportunity to something of a spoiler today, I guess. I mean, I don't worry about Oregon making the college football playoff or anything like that, but what do you think of Washington and just its ability to maybe cover the 18 today? I feel like anything I have to entertain after what happened between Ohio State and Michigan earlier.
Yeah, I tell you, I lean to the underdogs in these late season games, but Washington's been a team. It seems like they've kind of handled the teams on their schedule that they were supposed to handle, and have not really competed quite as well against the cream of the crop teams on their schedule. And Oregon certainly qualifies as one of those. So I guess my slight lean would be, if you're going to play pre-flop before the game starts, take the Ducks. And maybe even if you have some patience, wait and see if an in-game opportunity presents itself that gives you a more favorable number on Oregon.
Well, it looks like the Iowa Cyclones have moved deep into Kansas State territory. This game has just kicked off. I don't know if this was a kickoff return, but I'm showing 1st and 10 for Iowa State at the K-State 27. I am really intrigued by this game, Paul. I think it's going to be one of the best contests of the evening. We will see a short spread here. Iowa State favored by 2.5. They're trying to get to 10 wins. K-State trying to get to 9 wins. And the Cyclones, maybe an outside shot here to get into the Big 12 Conference Championship. What'd you do with this one, if anything?
I played Iowa State minus 2.5 early in the week. It might have even opened at 3, and we saw quite a bit of Kansas State money. I think it might have closed at 1.5, certainly closed at 1.5, I believe it at some books. But I believe there's so many scenarios in the Big 12. We came into this week with 4 teams tied at first, I believe in 6-2, and 5 other teams a game back at 5-3. So many scenarios. But I think the most likely one, if Iowa State wins here, I think they would maybe play Arizona State. But there's so many, if they win and they lose, it is very confusing. So don't go to the bank with that. But Avery Johnson, Kansas State's quarterback, hadn't quite played as well as I thought he might for the Wildcats this year. 2 of his last 3 games, he's had 2 interceptions. So I think Iowa State might win that all-important turnover battle. I like the Cyclones over the Wildcats.
An in-game opportunity. I know we're going to hit the break in a moment. Indiana, who entered this game today as a match against Purdue, only up 7-0 at this moment right now. And that game is still, I believe, in the opening quarter, but a little bit late in the first quarter. Just looking to see what the live line is looking like amidst all the games that are going on at this moment. And let's see. Screen's freezing up on me a little bit.
28.5, which is pretty much where we were prior to kickoff.
Right, and that is with Purdue with the ball deep in its own territory, about 2 minutes to go in the opening quarter. I'm just curious, I don't know that you laid the number, it was a huge number, but I am curious what you thought about this game going into it, Paul.
I didn't really examine it too closely, Adam. I certainly am not going to bet on Purdue at this stage in the season. Been a tough season for the Boilermakers. And Kurt Cignetti, I think he'll do whatever he can. He'll run it up if he can. It'll be Indiana or nothing.
Prime for a bounce back today. We'll bounce back right after this commercial. More IGL college football game day on the way.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun. I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. Load management is a dirty word.
Let him Rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at Marcus Johnson, when you look at Nikola Jokic, these aren't guys that are big, super athletic, dunking and jumping over people. These are just guys that are clean, skilled footwork, and do things below the rim that make the everyday guy look like it'd be like, I can do that. But you can't, and neither can I.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
We are back. Brady, Adam, Paul Stone. Again, paulstonesports.org. Make sure you check it out. Giving out loads of picks, loads of winners across the college football space. We're talking a little CFB with the CFP, College Football Playoff, around the corner. And, of course, outcomes today helping to decide who will, who won't be part of not only that 12-team field, but conference title games. Losses like Miami's today, Ohio State's today, really shocking the football world, obviously. Oregon, as expected, quick and early lead, up 7-0, a short rushing touchdown against Washington. And so Ducks have taken the lead about 5 minutes into the opening quarter there. Meanwhile, Kansas State is Iowa State, is driving 1st and 10 at the KSU 17, only a couple minutes, not even into that contest. So Brady had mentioned the long pickup out of ISU early and now trying to capitalize on it. We've got some other games starting shortly. We were discussing Texas against Texas A&M. That one will kick off in a little bit. We also have in Brady's backyard, Nevada, and UNLV. It's not exactly here a game that should be all that entertaining, right? I mean, you got 3-9 versus 9-2, a couple of teams in the Mountain West. Nevada has been a consistent disappointment, 0-6 in conference. The Runnin' Rebels, 17.5-point favorites for this one, begins in about 20 minutes or so. Again, not a marquee contest tonight, but hey, when there are games that we can bet on, we discuss them, Paul.
Yeah, Nevada, they gave SMU a good test and, took them into the fourth quarter in week 0, and they've been close. Their head coach's first-year guy, Jeff Shode, who was formerly last year an assistant under Steve Sarkisian at the University of Texas. His quarterback, Brendan Lewis, formerly at Colorado, a real athletic guy. They've been close, but just not close enough, as you said, winless in Mountain West Conference. You would think UNLV with an opportunity, apparently, from what I'm reading, if they were to beat Boise in the Mountain, if they were to beat Nevada first and make the Mountain West title game and then upset Boise, might have an opportunity to get in the 12-team tournament. So you would expect UNLV to bring the kitchen sink and to win this game rather decisively. It has been, a down year for the Wolfpack, and they do have some injury problems absolutely on both sides of the ball as well.
Yeah, this game is actually a little bit more intriguing than it might look on paper, Adam. Like Paul said, if UNLV wins, they'll have a rematch with Boise State in the conference championship game. A lot on the line there. Of course, Ashton Jeanty will be featured in that game for the nation to see. And if you look, like to your point, Paul, about Nevada being a tough out, in 7 of their losses this year, the average margin has only been 6 points. So they give everybody a good shot. 17.5 seems a little inflated here. I'm not going to get involved, but I'd probably have to take a dog like, we always do in these rivalry games. The dog seems to show up time and time again. I kind of like the dog in this one. The dog has seen the money. Virginia and Virginia Tech, Paul, that one will kick off in about 15 minutes. The Hokies favored by about 5 points here. It was as high as 7 or 7.5. They have won 22 out of the last 24 meetings. Can the Cavaliers finally turn it around here the other direction, Paul?
I think they can, because the Hokies, I think, are going to be down to their third-team quarterback. Drones didn't play last game. Don't think he's going to play tonight. And Colin Schlee, former UCLA quarterback, I believe he's in concussion protocol. So they have kind of an untested or lightly tested quarterback, do the Hokies. So Virginia, I think they're a good live dog. And like you said, it's been a one-sided affair historically. But, the Cavaliers, I think, have a little bit more might have a little bit more investment, more collective team psyche, as I like to say. So I kind of like the Who's as well, plus the points.
There's only one other contest kicking off tonight that involves a top 25 team, Paul, and that is BYU, number 19 at 9-2, looking to bounce back from its only 2 losses, but they have come consecutively these last couple of weeks. Now playing host to Houston. Cougars come in at 4-7. BYU is laying 11. Where do you go here?
BYU obviously has more to play for, but it just seems like, they kind of dodged the bullet early on the first half of the season on multiple occasions. And it seems like they kind of have run out of gas and things are catching up to them. And, first-year head coach there at the University of Houston, Willie Fritz, formerly of Tulane, Houston's laid some eggs for sure. They are the, not the very bottom of the conference. That goes to Oklahoma State almost incredibly. But Houston's, they've been a game opponent. And getting double digits, as Brady said a moment ago, I kind of tend to lean with the dog here. So I'd probably take the double-digit points with the Cougars.
Yeah, the Cougar Bowl, indeed. The Cougars versus the Cougars there in Provo. One other game that will kick off in about 10 minutes. It's Marshall at James Madison. And this one's kind of interesting. I was talking earlier, just because a team, has more motivation or more on the line doesn't mean that it translates into winning the football game. And here you have Marshall with a win will advance to the Sun Belt Conference Championship, but yet James Madison is the 3.5-point favorite, Paul.
Yeah, not that I've studied a lot in school, certainly not literature, but I like to quote Bill Shakespeare from time to time and say, heavy is the head that wears the crown. And I think the burden, the burden of it, I was probably out getting tickets or going to the horse races probably when I should have been learning that stuff. But, I think heavy is the head that wears the crown. I think sometimes it's a burden needing to win. And, the team with less pressure, with less on the line, can kind of just let it loose and go for it. So, might be a good spot here to go with the favorite who, doesn't have as much riding on the outcome.
Indiana, Oregon, Iowa State, all up a touchdown early in those games. Texas and Texas A&M just underway. A&M with the ball first. We'll let you know, obviously, what happens in that one. We mentioned Nevada and UNLV. We'll get going in just about 15 or so minutes. Earlier today, for anyone that missed it, Michigan, 3-point win at Ohio State in their rivalry game. Penn State pulverized Maryland. That was 44-7. Notre Dame all over USC in a 2-touchdown win. High-scoring affair. Tennessee took care of Vanderbilt, won by 13. I can't believe Vandy didn't cover the number after leading by 10 at the end of one quarter. Much more with Paul Stone when we come back.
guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at Marcus Johnson, when you look at Nikola Jokic, these aren't guys that are big, super athletic, dunking and jumping over people. These are just guys that are clean, skilled footwork, and do things below the rim that make the everyday guy look like it'd be like, I can do that. But you can't, and neither can I.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
We're back with Paul Stone talking all things college football right now. And when I say all things, it is not just, of course, live scores, previewing games later, looking at live betting opportunities, all of that good stuff. It's the grand scheme of what is happening as this season does wind down. I mean, we are effectively, Paul, into December. At least we will be come tomorrow. And so, right now, as the college football playoff takes shape, it's just a really interesting time of year, and it's led to a lot of discourse from the media, be it social media or mainstream media and everything in between, including us, obviously. But the expansion from 4 teams, the old college football playoff, to a dozen, and now you see people all over as a lot of these teams toward the end of the regular seasons are kind of, imploding to some degree or just not playing quite up to expectation. I know there's the whole any given Saturday thing, but it's also, well, maybe there aren't as many great teams or even really good teams as we thought there were. And so is 12 too many? Forever it was 4's not enough, 4's not enough. Was 8 the sweet spot? Did we get greedy?
I don't know. First of all, a lot of people, when we went to 12, I think a lot of people wrongly, in my opinion, thought that would be less confusion and there wouldn't be as many questions, so forth and so on. When you expand the field, you expand the number of teams that feel like they belong in that larger pool of teams. So it's going to create more confusion. And I think we've had an unusually active year for just upsets and teams slipping up. And as you indicated, Adam, there's a lot of really good teams, at least good teams in college football, but there's no great teams. Everybody has blemishes. Everybody has warts. I think most years, whether it would have been a 12-team playoff in the past or just the traditional 4 that we've had the last decade or so, you could say either this team or maybe that team's going to win. And you were probably going to be right basically every year. And this year, we're going to go into it with a number of teams having an opportunity to at least win a game. And more teams than usual will have a chance to win it all. So while some people indicate, man, it's just too many teams, there's not enough teams to fill the field, I love it. It makes for a competitive tournament. This is not the NFL. The college football is the Mona Lisa. Everybody's got warts. They don't They don't practice as much. They're highly skilled, but not as skilled. So it's not a perfect game. So I really enjoy it. I'm looking forward to it. The committee has an extremely difficult job on their hands.
Well, Paul, we would be remiss if we didn't mention the very appropriate last game of the 2024 regular season happens to be a Hawaii game. God bless the schedule makers. A Hawaii game for the last Saturday of the regular season in 2024. They are hosting the Lobos of New Mexico, who have been a pretty decent team. They've been a tough out. They can certainly score points with anybody. Hawaii has been really inconsistent, I think, at best. And yet New Mexico laying a pretty short number of just 3.5 last time I looked. Any play for you here late night out on the islands?
I probably won't have a play, but New Mexico's offense has been very prolific under their first-year starting quarterback, Devin Dampier. They've scored a lot of points and given up a lot of points. And it just looks like to me it's probably going to be a track meet, and I'm not sure Hawaii can keep up with New Mexico, with the Lobos, if they get into a score fest. So even though I don't anticipate having a play, if I was going to play it, I would probably take the favorite, New Mexico.
Paul, in the couple of minutes we have left, any great surprises today, other than obviously, Ohio State falling to Michigan? I mean, that has to be the biggest surprise of the day. But anything that really kind of rocked your view of how to wager on these teams going forward?
Well, we lost Miami today as a potential playoff team, I think. They jump out ahead of Syracuse 21-0, 2 minutes into the second quarter, and Syracuse comes back and wins the game 42-38. So I think it's now cemented that we'll have SMU and Clemson in the ACC title game there in Charlotte next Saturday. So that was a stunning, maybe not a stunning game. Miami's lived on the edge most of the season, even before the loss at Georgia Tech. They had some close calls. Clearly, they were an offensive-heavy team. So we lose Miami. I just expect more confusion. I think there'll be more confusion tonight, maybe brought forth by Texas A&M, and then next week with the conference championship games. Expect the unexpected.
In the spirit of that confusion, I am hoping that the committee will look favorably upon my Miami to make the college football playoff plus 225 ticket from before the season. Maybe, just maybe, right? Why not? Paul Stone, paulstonesports.org, Paul Stone Sports on Twitter. Paul, thanks again. Enjoy the rest of the holiday break.